What's up, guys? Welcome to Podcast 412, Fight for Purity. A bold way of looking at challenges that young people are facing. We'll talk about the naked truth of life and how to handle the problems you're thinking but not talking about. So strap in, get ready for another great podcast.
Hi, welcome back. So we're still talking about Storge love, but we're specifically talking about mothers, and we're going to continue on that conversation today.
Yes. Yeah. And Sarah's going to start us off.
Sorry, I didn't introduce
with a fun fact.
Sarah.
Yes, fun fact.
2 fun facts today.
Are we doing both?
Yeah, remember?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because we weren't sure if we did one or not.
Give me a second. I got to find the first one.
Because we weren't sure if that one we'd done yet. So we thought, well, we'll do 2.
Okay.
Just in case.
Yeah. So the first one is about memory. So women are better at remembering where things are. Like, we'll be like, they're by, that chair on the floor over there, kind of thing. And when we navigate, we tend to use landmarks, like the McDonald's or the mountains or whatever the hell is in your city. But guys tend to use like actual directions, like go northeast and southeast for 5 miles and then turn left and right and yeah, they're like the GPS. Exactly. Exactly. But women are not. So but we tend to use landmarks. So I thought that was interesting because it's very true. I have no idea where north, east, and south is.
See, my husband, though, I'll tell him the GPS says we're 300 feet. He goes, well, how far is that? I go, oh, I don't know. I said, it says 300 feet.
It's 300 feet.
So I don't know how far that is. But, yeah, so I don't know. It's directions, but he wants to know exactly where. Like, what street do I turn on? So.
I don't think that's land. That's still navigation,
is
though.
that still, like,
yeah, because, like, it's still,
yeah.
like, titles and stuff. Because, like, when I go places, I'm not, like, go turn left or right on this street. I'm like, turn where you see the Starbucks. You're going to turn,
Yeah.
That's.
If you hit the tree, you've gone too far.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because he'll be like, well, where's 3? I was like, I don't know. Because I don't know how. 300. It just says 300 feet. I don't know if that's the next street or you're turning right now. And I think usually it is like, but I'll say it says 500 feet. It says 0.1 miles. And he's like, yeah. He goes, well, how far is that? I go, wow, 0.1 miles. I don't know how far
that is. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But just in case we have done that one already, I'm sorry for the repeat.
Yeah.
Here's an extra one just so you don't have 2 of the same ones. Yeah. So as men and women age, men tend to have more difficulty hearing high-pitched sounds like consonants, like B, C, D, while women struggle with low-pitched sounds like vowels. So as you get older, we'll all struggle to hear the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. And guys will struggle to hear every other letter in the alphabet.
Yeah. I think you gave a good example that you can give again about because she works with older people.
I do.
And I don't know what older
and over
means.
the phone.
Yeah.
And over the phone. Well, it ranges, Sometimes they're as young as like 60 something, or sometimes there's one that's like 101.
Oh, wow.
But he doesn't sound 101 on the phone. But sometimes when I talk to them, especially being over the phone, like when it comes to the men, you have to drop it down low, bring a little bass in there. So, and then with women, I've noticed you have to use the, hi, how are you, customer voice type thing. You have to talk really slow. Can't talk fast.
Is that for both?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I've noticed that, like, especially over the phone, like, there's this one question that we have to do if it's, like, an escalation. And it's like, is it new for you? That is very hard for them to understand. The new. They're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, new. N-E-W. Oh! Like if they're experiencing a symptom or whatever. It's very difficult.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because they can only hear part of what you're saying.
They're
like
like,
the whole vowel thing. Or
Yeah. Or maybe just understanding new as in,
Is this the first time
is
it's
this the first
happening
time,
to you?
or is this a new experience, or is this
See, but you can't say new because
Yeah.
apparently they can't understand
new?
new.
Yeah. You? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would see that.
So I would say like first time.
Yeah.
or first couple of times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Have
So-
you ever experienced this
Yeah.
before?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
No. Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Good question though.
Cool.
Experience what?
What you just
Yeah.
said to me.
No, yeah, it gets very, yeah.
That's what we all have to look forward to, you guys, when we get older. So,
Not me.
well, not you, but the rest of us probably. Just kidding. So last time that we were talking, we ended kind of talking on love a little bit. Well, that Storge love, and that love was like, it could seem like an inconvenience. There are inconveniences
In love,
in love.
but love itself.
Love itself shouldn't be
An
an
inconvenience.
inconvenience.
If it's an inconvenience for you, we might have to work on something.
Yes. So we're gonna probably talk a little bit, just kind of how we got from where we're at now, and we're gonna roll back a little bit. And we did that last week. We kind of talked about how families were back then and how they were all like together, work together, you know.
Like just like the differences
Yeah,
in like family connections. I think
Yeah.
last time.
yeah. And so we want to talk a little bit, you know, about just kind of how things change, or kind of where
Where it
they
started
were
to change.
kind of started to change and why it started to change.
From like the mother's perspective
Yeah,
type thing.
and so you know, the one thing with our podcast is we can never go like really deep, but we do our best to try and provide you guys with actual facts and data. We don't always like
We don't like cite our sources.
cite our
you know?
sources all the time,
It's out there.
but we do look like at medical things, or we look at history, or we look at just, you know, and it's something that you can do yourself to kind of verify what we're saying, because we want you guys to know that we're actually looking, and we're not just, you know, up here just talking of our opinions, you know, well, this is what I think, you know. Sometimes we will, and we'll say, you know, this is what I think, or this is what I whatever experienced, or, and we will talk about that because that's important as well. But I just wanted to kind of
Reiterate.
yeah,
Say it.
yeah, just say it again so you guys know that we're actually trying to give you guys some facts, because we want you guys to think about what you're doing and how you're living and why you're making the choices that you're making. So I'm going to start real quick, just because I know we talked a little bit about this, but I'm going to read through a thing that I found on Healthway Medical. And it basically talks about, it's going to answer a few questions. So I'm going to read a few of them. Let me see. Yeah. 'Cause I think this is important because we had the same issue when we were talking about fathers. Like people are, well, what's it like to have a father? You know, and it was kind of hard for us. Well, I don't know, you know. And so it was kind of the same thing with the mother. Like, well, what's it like, you know, because it's probably more people are without their dads than without their moms. But I'm sure there's, you know, young men, young women out there without their moms.
Yeah.
So the first question that I ask is, why is a mother's role important in developing a child's potential in preschool? It says children thrive when they have a secure and positive relationship with people, especially their parents. It says studies have shown that early childhood is a period in which developmentally a child is learning a lot from their surrounding and people around them. This is the child's window of learning, which will impact their growing years. Therefore, as the main presence in a child's life at this point, a mother's relationship with her child is crucial. A mother plays multiple roles in a child's development, as she is a teacher in every aspect of a child's developmental growth, social, emotional, physical, cognitive, and independence. Okay, so there's a lot in there. We could probably, you know, if we had time,
To go through everyone.
we could go
That's
through
a lot.
because think about how you relate to people. That's the social. The physical, you know, I don't know, maybe just
I think that's more of like a boundaries thing. You
Yeah.
shouldn't go, you know, and bite
Yeah.
your friend's fingers, you know, or something like
did I say emotional?
that. Yeah.
emotion-
No, well, you said it now.
Emotional. Okay, the emotional. So obviously your feelings, probably how you respond to, you know,
To
different
negativity or
things.
to
Yeah.
joy or anger.
Yeah. Cognitive, I'm guessing your learning, right? And independence. So I'm guessing how insecure or secure you feel to do something. Yeah, just alone in general. And something like just on a this is on a personal note is I always tell parents that you're going to deposit into your kids who you are, not what you want them to think you are. You know, like if you have anger issues, you know, maybe you don't blow up necessarily in front of your kids, you're still going to deposit that into your kids. Or if you have, you know, like self-esteem issues, or if you have, I don't know, maybe anxiety, or you have, how do I say this without it being immoral issues, like you know,
You struggle with bad decisions.
that, yeah, or you have like, or you maybe you're undisciplined, you know, in your finances or in other areas, in moral areas, you're gonna deposit that, you know. You're not, you know, some people think, well, if they don't see me, or you know, then you know, it's not. It is gonna have an impact. Who you are is.
I think about it like a tree. You know, if you're an apple tree,
Yeah.
no matter how much you water and put like different stuff, you're not gonna grow lemons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of the same. Like as a parent, you are what you are, and no matter, like, you know, you can do whatever you want to try and shape your kids to be a different way, but they're gonna be an extension of you. That's what they are. They're an extension of you. You know, so if you want your kids to be lemons when you're an apple, then you need to work on some stuff on yourself.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like important to know because, you know, I mean, like an introvert, an extrovert. You know, if you don't want your kid to be an introvert, then you can't be. You have to push the boundaries in your own life to try not to be that way. You know, if you're not outspoken, or if you're the opposite, you're an extrovert, you know, you don't want your kid talking about, you know, then you gotta tone it down a little bit or whatever. But I feel like that's something that people don't really think about. They think, you know, well, if they have a good education and if they, you know, no, sorry, they're gonna be like you, and they're gonna handle situations the way you handle situations. They're gonna handle conflict the way you handle conflict. They're gonna handle. That's why, and all that, like the emotional and all that, it really is because they're learning from you. You're the teacher.
Yeah.
So everything, I mean,
That makes a lot of sense, especially I think just because when you're a baby, obviously you need your mom just physically more than you need your father, because your mom's one of the only people who can actually physically care for you. For you. She birthed you, you know. So that makes sense that she's like the primary source of developing just generally.
And it
in
seems
life.
like such a simple thing because, you know, your job is to feed your kids, to clothe your kids. You're the one that's telling them, okay, you got to go to bed now. Read. I mean, it seems like such a simple, like, no big deal kind of thing, but yet it's so important because you're developing like a human person in your life. So, so another question that it has is, what are the benefits of mother's involvement in early children education? That didn't make sense, but sorry. Oh no, okay, sorry, I lied. It's what role can a mother play in early childhood education? The synaptic networks, I don't know why the other one's the same, but the synaptic networks in a child's brain are still being formed during the first 5 years of their lives. Children at this stage are particularly receptive to human contact. How parents interact with their children, engage them in cognitive, social, and emotional development activities during these years will define their future selves. A mother can be in contact with her child's teacher to stay updated on what the child learns in the classroom and help to reinforce and transfer this learning in the home setting. But basically kind of like the same thing, you know, it's just, you know.
That whole touch thing always surprises me. The human touch, human contact is like so important when you're a kid. I know I've mentioned it, I think, in a past episode. There's that study where, well, there's two studies. There's that super controversial study where like children died because they didn't have human contact. But there was another one with monkeys, and they're little baby monkeys, and they separated from mom, and in one cage they had milk, like, and it's just like a wire cage. There's a bottle there, you know, and now, you know, just when you're hungry, you go. That's where you go. It's mom.
Yeah.
And then the other one, they had the milk, but they had like a soft like plush in there, so milk came from mom, but it was almost like a stuffed animal and stuff. But they noticed with the monkey that didn't have like a mom figure in there, just the food, they were super skittish, like they got terrified all the time. They would constantly like stay in their corner, even when people tried to go and like feed them and care for them. They were always like terrified anytime anybody came near their cage, and they were always in the corner, like real. They didn't go out too much. And then with the other one, when they were frightened or whatever, they would run to mom, they would hug them, but then eventually they would come out, and like they were a little bit more outgoing. They were a little more like they were able to like overcome fears and like be around like other people. But the one without mom, without that contact, where it was like there was no change. They just stayed in their corner, like always, which is like crazy, because like I know like we can be really bad at physical emotion.
Yeah. It doesn't sometimes come. I mean, it should come naturally, but it doesn't always come. But it's funny, like I said, all these little things, you know, you're like, your hands are, your child is in your hands, like his life, literally, like in everything, like you're like that first human contact that he has, you know, on a daily basis. And then the last one I wanted to look at was how parents can be involved in their child's development. Obviously, it says be a good role model, which, like I said, you know, and it's more than just, well, you have to be that person.
Mm-hmm. You have to be the person you want your kids to be, I guess.
Yeah, because some people, I don't want my kid to, well, then you can't be that way. You know, if you don't want them to be selfish, well, then don't be selfish. You know, because people don't think about that. They don't make the connection. You're their role model. They're going to watch you, and that's who they're going to follow. That's who they're going to mimic, is going to be your life, your words, you know, everything. So, and it says, loving your child and show them love through actions, such as hugs, spending time with them, and listening to them. And that's a little bit hard, you know, because your kids talk a lot. So, and then it says, be a safe haven, right? Mm-hmm. Because it says, children raised by parents who respond consistently will have a better social and emotional development.
That makes sense.
Talk with your child, as this helps their brain integrate. When different parts of their brain are integrated, they function harmoniously and leads to more cooperative behavior and more empathy. And it says, pay attention to your own well-being. Take good care of yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. Okay, and then take time to strengthen your relationship with your spouse. If these areas fail, your child will suffer too. So I thought,
I think it's interesting that a part of being a caring mother is having a good relationship with your spouse.
Yeah.
So it goes back to like what we were talking about dads too. Like you need both. You need the father Storge love, and you need that mom Storge love. You need both, because they work hand in hand with each other for you to experience like a strong Storge love, I guess is what it is.
And you know what's funny is when you look at this, it's like a medical thing. You don't see anything in here when you really look at it. What's important is like just your attention, the physical contact, that you talk to your children, there's nothing in here that says anything about how you're doing financially. Mm-hmm. That you have to have this much money, that you have to have this kind of education, that you have to be, you know, there's nothing in here about that. No. You know, and not that it doesn't matter, or not that it doesn't help, obviously.
Impact, or
that it doesn't, but the important thing is that you Storge.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was going to say, because love doesn't have anything to do with what you have physically. It has everything to do with what's going on inside.
Yeah. And so the one day, so looking at that, there was a time, or what, I guess in the 60s, where that kind of changed. Yeah. You know, where there was I don't know if it was a group of people, or well, somebody that like spearheaded it, you know, that kind of changed the idea that, well, if you're a mother, you know, you have to be of maybe this race, or you have to be wealthy. You know, you can't be, you know, a poor person, or you can't be a certain race of person, you know, because they looked at you then as, you know,
Inferior.
inferior.
Or not being able, you can't be a mom because you don't fit these
Yeah.
standards.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if you remember anything that you looked up concerning that era, what they said about people back then.
Well, I know to help, I guess, prevent, I guess, certain people from being a mother. Am I allowed birth control? Am I allowed, I don't know. I was like, birth control was invented to help. If you saw, well, one, the person who created it, there's actually a specific quote that she said. Her name was Margaret Sanger, and she was probably the one who helped in that area to help you like prevent pregnancy if you didn't want to be pregnant, or if you know, you didn't see yourself as fit to be a mom.
Yeah. Well, like, and think about it. That wasn't the norm back in the day. That was what? How many years ago was that? 60s? The 60s?
So, well, this started in 1920.
The 20. Okay.
1920s.
Okay.
So this is where it's, I would say, started.
Kind of started, but it wasn't like implemented probably till the 60s, right? Kind of. Or
Mainstream.
Mainstream, where it became a big push.
Yeah, I was
in
gonna say,
the
I think
60s.
the 60s was when it became more
accepted
and accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
Like anybody could
Yeah.
get
So
it.
how long ago was that? Sorry.
The 50s or the 60s?
The 60s.
50,
20,
50 years? 60?
40.
Oh, hold on. So 80s are 40, 70s are 50, 60, the 60s,
40,
60 years ago.
60. Okay, 60
Oh,
years.
well, yeah, that makes
Yeah, so about 60 years ago. So, yeah. So
So,
it wasn't
yeah.
that long.
don't know how to count.
You're right.
70, 80, 90.
So it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
You know, back in those days, and we talked about it before, people were having like 10 kids. It wasn't uncommon to have 10 kids.
Yeah.
That was the normal, was to have 10 kids.
Yeah.
So,
Not that, but yeah. So Margaret Sanger was the one who started, like, I guess, invented like birth control to help if you felt like you didn't want kids or whatever. But her reasoning was birth control is nothing more or less than the facilitation of the process of weeding out the unfit and of preventing the birth of defectives. So to her, birth control was to, if you're unfit to be a mother, it's to prevent that, because you're just going to produce basically defective children. And so that's
horrible thing.
well, because, and that's a horrible thing to say, because who determines if you're unfit or not?
Yeah. Or
You
if
know?
you're somehow defective.
Or if your
You know?
children are defective, and for what reason? Why are they defective?
yeah.
Is it because they're poor? Is it because of the race?
Yeah.
Is it because, you know,
Where they live.
where they
or-
live,
Their
or
education.
you know, who, and also, so, you know, also back then, this is for the U.S. anyways. I don't know really about anywhere else, but for the U.S., I believe it was at 1907, the U.S. was still was allowed, and I don't think it was banned till like way later, was allowed to sterilize groups of people because the government had the right to sterilize unwilling and unwitting people, because if the government saw you as insane, feeble-minded, diseased, or dependent, and therefore you're incapable of regulating your own reproductive abilities, and so that was their justification, where they can sterilize
So they
a
made it
group of people.
so you couldn't have kids just
So you
because they
can't.
thought
You're
we don't want more of you.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
defective.
Somehow.
Really, somehow.
Yeah. Who were these defective people, or people that needed to, manage
Their population, I guess.
Yeah.
Population control.
Yeah. Because that really had an impact, and you're talking about like in the 19...
This was in the early 1900s, so 1907, and that was sterilization. But it was still a thing even in 1930, 1929, because that's when it finally went to like court and people were actually saying, hey, this is
Not right.
wrong, this is right. But they were still able to justify it. There's even a quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., and that's when he infamously says, 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. And that was basically their justification for sterilization, and that it wasn't against the Constitution. But who decides who are imbeciles? I don't know. Because, in anyone's eyes, anyone can be an imbecile for any reason, whether it's, like we said, race or poor education or poor
money management, not even like that they're poor, but they just suck at
just
having money.
A certain class of people, like educated, uneducated.
Yeah, well, like I said too, even like the immigrants that were coming here, how they were looked upon, and hopefully, next time we'll get to see a little bit more of who that included.
Yeah, and why that has such a big impact on moms. And how we see moms too today, because it had a really big impact on how society and how like personally people started looking at moms, at their necessity,
their role, or how, because even today, you look when somebody says, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. It's like, oh wow,
that's
it.
Yeah.
Like as if somehow that's a lesser, or that you're settling for less. Somehow you could be doing more, or you could be doing something better.
Somehow being a mom isn't enough.
It doesn't qualify as something that's important or valid, or...
But they look at it as like, ruining your life.
Yeah.
And your body.
Yeah.
More on
but
that
yet
next time.
The things that we've seen so far about moms, I mean,
it's like super important.
They're important, because you're shaping a life, and you're teaching that child how to function,
how to be an adult
in society. Like that's an important role of a mother, because otherwise, like all the things that we talked about, loving, and I mean, nobody's gonna love your kid like you. Nobody's gonna care for your child like you. And I know, people gotta work, and
you do what you gotta do sometimes.
Sometimes you have to leave your care to another person, but I mean, nobody can love your child
Nobody can
like
replace
you.
Like you, and that's one thing, like for me, like as a mother, and most of us, I would say most of us here, except for one, and I'm missing one this also, but they're mothers. But I have to say, like for me, I'm a professional, okay? I got my bachelor's because I already raised my kids and I have grandkids. And you guys are like in kindergarten still.
I am.
You're like barely starting.
I'm barely starting out. My troubles only go to 2-year-olds right now.
Yeah.
That's the extent of my knowledge and expertise.
Because I was thinking about that, because when you're out like in society and you're doing a job, you're considered a professional when you've had years of experience, and so there's it's because you learn a lot from raising children. They're all different. They're all so but it is important.
It is important, but I do want to say, because I already know how I guess people think that. I know sometimes you're like encouraging, being a mother is a good thing, but I know a lot of people feel like that's almost insulting. Like, well, all I'm good is to just be a mom.
Yeah.
Like that's all I'm good for.
Just a mom.
Just like it's I know, because it's the old, quote unquote, old-fashioned roles for females and males, and that has been pushed even on me growing up, very just like, that's so old-fashioned. I'm more than just a stay-at-home mom and everything. But I think we're just trying to show you the value of that. Yes, you have talents. other than being a mom. You know, we all have talents. We all have intellect. We're not, you know.
You're not somehow dumb.
Yeah,
because
you're
you're a mom.
not dumb or anything. Like we just want you to see that you shouldn't look down on motherhood.
It adds even more value to like who you are.
Yeah.
It's not what defines you in
Yeah.
a sense. You know, you still you're your own person still.
Yeah.
But
It's still a part of you.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And that,
Explain it.
Yeah, and I guess people have a hard time wrapping their heads around.
Yeah, well, but it's because of how we grew up. I grew up, I guess, is that you're very much taught, like, really, I said it, you know, that to look down almost on moms, because, like, it's been taught to us, like, because we, in the 1900s, that women were property, and women were looked at as, you just stay in the kitchen, woman, and you don't speak, you know. And and there was no, it was terrible. That was terrible. We're not saying we got to go back, you know, to the old days and just slaving in the kitchen and everything. But we're just making you realize the balance of yes, you're not any less than if you're not a mother, but you shouldn't look down on motherhood either if you don't want to be a mom or for whatever reason. But I just wanted to put that out there because I already know everyone. Because in at least my generation, we were all like, oh my God, they're so old fashioned and they want us to go back to the kitchen and, you know, to keep our mouths shut and be silent. So that's not what we're encouraging. We want you to just see the value of both, really, of both.
And there is great value in it. And that's the thing, like, that our society has taught us, well, no, there's no value in that. If you're a mother, then you're settling for less, you know, but you're not settling for less by being a mother.
It's just settling for something different than other people are. That's just all it is.
Well, no, I think...
Not really settling, I guess, just choosing something.
So, but being a mother is not like this
horrible thing.
Horrible.
It's not a burden.
It's not a ball and chain.
It's not.
Because there are rewards. And the one thing about being a mother is this is how I look at it, is it's an investment. And if you know anything about investments, the longer that you stay invested in something, the more worth and the more value that it has. You know, short investments are just that. They're short. They're meant, 2 years, 5 years, but a real long-term investment, it doesn't pay the dues until later. And so you don't see the investment of your work, of your labor, of your love, of your time and all that until later in the years. When you have kids that aren't crazy, kids that you don't have to bail out of jail, you know what I mean? Kids that have their own jobs and they're functioning, they're giving back to society.
And not only that, but giving back to you.
Yeah.
That's such a rewarding, is knowing that your daughter or your son, they'll, because we all get old and senile. And to know that your daughters, that your sons are going to be there for you.
Yeah.
And not because they see you as this burden or this chore, but it's because you showed them love first, so they want to give it back.
Yeah.
They can help you with those phone calls. She said no, Mom.
And they're also paying your Social Security. Yeah. Because they work and they're contributing back to society. Yeah. They're not criminals. So just different things like that. They're your teachers, they're your lawyers, they're your doctors, they're your mechanics, That's what, So it's important because we're doing that. We're creating that. So, but we're going to have to come back because we went over our time. And we're going to continue to talk about just how it's changed radically changed. So, but thank you guys for joining us.
See you guys next time.
We'll see you back soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Join us for our next podcast. You can contact us through Instagram at podcast412 or email us at 412fight@gmail.com. See you next time.